We'll be on video. We're gonna have a true document.
Daddy, a cameraman.
Yeah, you're all walking.
You recording this?
Boys and girls, come in nice and close, and we just need to leave a path on this side in case any other groups come past. So come all the way over here, and then just come out because she's going to need to go in there. Come out, boys and girls. We're going to get lots of information in just a minute.
So first, before everything, I just want to say good morning and welcome to the New York Transit Museum. My name is Ramona, and this is my friend Kate, and we're going to be your museum educators today. So we're going to show you a lot of cool things, a lot of old things. So when you came to the museum today, what did you notice? What's different here? Yeah. What else did you notice? Yes, in the back. Jean.
I noticed that it's kind of alike from the other train stations. The ice cream like tracks over there.
So it's kind of alike like other train stations because it sees tracks downstairs.
So this is more like a train station than a museum, isn't it? Right? Yes, this is a transit museum. So we placed our museum inside of an old subway train station. This subway train station, it used to be for the HH train. This train only went one stop. It went from Court Street 3 blocks up to Hoyt-Schermerhorn. From Hoyt-Schermerhorn 3 blocks back to Court Street. Can you walk 3 blocks?
1, 2, 3.
3 blocks? Everybody can walk 3 blocks. It's not that hard.
1, 2, 3.
Yes. Eyes on me, please. So, the HH train stopped running, and we turned this old station into our museum. So it's good for everyone to see all the trains from long, long ago. But before you ride the trains or the bus, what do you do? In the pink, yeah. Paris.
You have to pay.
You have to pay. It's not free, right? You have to pay. So this, my friends, someone asked already, what is this? Well, this is an example of the first turnstile. Long ago, before we had Metro cards, we had tickets, paper tickets. You would buy a ticket from the ticket booth, over there, take your ticket, over here, give it to the ticket chopper. He would put it inside, chop it up, then he'd step on this to turn it for you, and you'd be able to go through. That sounds like a lot of work, right?
But I noticed something. I noticed like over there, that's why they use our train so they can pass when you go to the train station.
It's the same thing that she's telling you here. It's the same thing. It's a turnstile,
So
but it
first,
looks different.
we had tickets. Then we moved from tickets to these.
Oh,
Who knows the name of this? It's
tokens.
tokens. And from tokens, we moved to
Japan.
There's going to be something after the Metro car.
Oh,
Working on something really different.
I want to see.
So I want you all to form one line and you will follow me through all the turnstiles.
Everybody pushing. Michael, back. Yeah.
And you have to use your hands to push it, okay? Don't use your body. Use your hands.
Hands out in front when you're gonna turn the
Okay, my friends.
I'm ready to cook.
There were some innovations made from the first turnstile to the last one. Raise a quiet hand and tell me some changes you noticed. Yes.
I noticed that one of the changes were weird.
What was the change?
Change? What change?
That's what I want to know. What's the
What
change?
change?
I know. Now we moved. First of all, we had train, and we moved to buses, and then we moved to cars.
But right now, what changed about the turnstiles, boys and girls? When you first started pushing, what material was it? Eris?
Well, it was kind of like wood.
Oh,
was
perfect.
wood.
And then as you continued moving through, what did the material change into? Darwin? Then it changed into metal. Nice. Is there anything else you noticed that changed? Erin? Sarah? Sorry.
That
Boyd?
in the back, it doesn't look like the same from
What's different?
What's different is wood and this is metal.
Okay. Anything else that changed maybe from here to all of this? What's the difference? If you do this in my face, I'm not choosing you. Lindsay?
Once those going into push it, and the last one you need to have hard.
So some of them you needed to push them, and other ones, once you switched your card, you were able to pass through. Nice. Try to be very careful. We're going down the stairs. Stay to one side with at least a partner. Slow it down. We're going down the stairs.
And I want you to have
Over here, this way, this way.
Okay. Okay, my friends, before we get on any trains, all eyes on me, please. Before we get on any trains, I want to go over some rules because this is a working train station. When we're on the platform, we have to use walking feet, okay? No running. Do you see those two red lights there?
Yeah.
What does a red light mean? It means stop. So that means that these trains right now, they won't leave the station because the red lights are on telling them to stop. But the tracks still have electricity on them. So be careful not to drop anything onto the tracks, okay?
Okay.
Okay, and follow.
If you drop it in the tracks, what happens?
If you drop it on the tracks, we can't get them. It just has to stay there. It's too dangerous.
Oh, that's so you can be dead. Don't say that! Yeah!
We're gonna have a barbecue.
You never come to a barbecue.
Danger.
Mike. Say this up.
This is the S train.
Mike, Mike.
This is the one we have
Over here.
now. This is the one we have now. Yeah, the S train. Special. Oh, that's dirty. I broke my
Okay, my friends, this is the oldest subway train that we have in this museum. This train turned 100 years old. So we have to be very gentle with this train. It's very, very old. I want you to look at the outside of this train. Is this a normal train color? Have you seen this type of color? No, this train is painted this color. And when you get onto the train, I want you to look around and see different different things that you never saw on the train before, okay?
Okay.
But being mindful that this train is 100 years old, so you have to
Be gentle.
Yes.
100.
Watch your steps.
I'm black.
Watch your step, Jonas. Oh, gracias.
Sit gently and quietly on the seats. Girls, there's a couple more seats here. And then we'll here. Make room for everybody, please.
Listening ears.
If you can hear me, touch your head. If you can hear me, touch your shoulders. If you can hear me, hands on your lap. Okay, my friends, we're on a really, really old subway train. Like I said, this train is 100 years old. And it doesn't look like a train that we ride on today, does it?
It looks like an old train.
It looks old. So what I want you to do, with a quiet hand, I want you to tell me some things that you noticed on this train. Yes. We have a lot of handles, yes. Yes.
The difference is that the couches. We don't have couches like these. They're made of metal.
It's a different material, the seats.
I know.
Yes.
These,
Listen.
ours, they don't bounce. This one, bounce.
Okay, but we're not going to bounce just yet.
Oh, we're gonna actually.
Yes.
They don't have
This?
No, they don't have.
What's this?
Fan.
A fan. Do you see fans on the train?
No. They're all old and bending. Something is different from this train. The other trains don't have.
Can't hear Gene.
This train doesn't have like stops in the top of the.
Oh, it doesn't tell you
Where to go?
where you're going, what stop you're at.
I want to go
It has
to
one map
America.
over here, and it has another map over here. But other than that, there's no other way to tell where you're going. Who do you think would tell you where you're going on the train? On this train, who would tell you? Yeah. Does anyone want to give him a hand? Yes.
Me. I think like somebody that is like riding on like the driver or something for like he can tell you where we stop there at.
I think that's a good guess. It wouldn't be the driver of the train, the conductor. The conductor would ride in the train with you a long time ago. He would ride on the train. He would tell you where to sit. He would open the doors for you, and he would tell you what stop is coming up
Like
and what stop that you're at. Do you see any speakers? So the conductors had to be really loud on this train,
Okay. Why?
so everyone can hear.
No, pay attention, everybody. Pay attention. They know it's stop or attention. Be quiet.
Okay, so some of my friends noticed that the seats are different on this train. I want you to take a hand, wave your hands at me, and with this same gentle hand, I want you to touch the seats. No bouncing, touching. Okay, these seats are made from a material that's called rattan. Let's say that together, rattan. This is not plastic, this is rattan. Rattan is very similar to a panda's favorite thing to eat. Bamboo. You can find this in the same place.
Wait.
So, in the morning, I like to have hot chocolate. Sometimes I drink it on the train. If I had my hot chocolate and I spilled it by mistake on these seats, do you think it would be easy to clean up?
No.
What would make it so hard to clean it up? Why? I mean, I have a paper towel with me. I'll just wipe it up.
It would take like 200 hours.
200 hours.
There's a hole through it.
Yes, these seats are made kind of like a basket. So whatever you spill, it'll sink down to the bottom. Yeah, it'll sink to the bottom. What if I had something like milk? What happens to milk when milk is old?
I'm putting it stinky.
It's stinky, right? So I don't think that these seats are very good for cleaning if you spill something on it. Some of my friends said these seats are very bouncy, right? They're bouncy, but some of the seats are actually breaking. So the little parts that are breaking up, if you sit on it, is that gonna feel good?
No.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be ouch on you. And if you have on tights, it might even rip your tights or your stockings.
Where you rip your pants? I'm slipping.
You could slip too.
I know that's
See,
what
to correct you.
What you did this? I said, where you rip your pants?
Okay, my friend. On this train, we have these handholds. And they're kind of nice. You can't reach it. I can reach it. Okay, have a seat. Please have a seat. We're listening.
207, we have listening ears in 5, in 4, Jaden, in 3, thank you.
If I'm riding the train and I'm rocking because this is rocking, and then the train stops and I bump into this person, are they gonna like that?
No.
No. So it's nice you can hold on to it, but it's moving, so I don't think that's great.
I don't think that's
What
a
if
great
I get
idea.
on this train and somebody's holding on to all of these and there's no seats? What do I hold on to? How many holes do we have?
2, 4, 6. There's 200.
One.
One.
There's only one hole. If a lot of people are holding on to this, what is there for me to hold on to?
Something else.
There's nothing. On the trains that we have now, there are lots of holes instead of one.
There's 2. How do I go? I know where you go. I know. Somebody's here. I know it. Somebody's here.
Oh, well, that would be nice if somebody, gave me a hand.
Or if somebody
That would be nice.
Or push over.
One of my friends noticed the fan on this train. I mean, it's pretty cool, but if it's spinning and I'm tired and I stretch my hand up, is that safe?
No, you cut yourself. You break your hand off.
I would hurt my fingers. At the museum, we like to joke, we call these fans the free haircut fans.
Also, you can turn around. You can swing them straight up.
If you have really tall hair or if you're a tall person,
And then you cut your hand off from the bottom.
and one thing that nobody pointed out,
Somebody, we can't listen to you.
Nobody pointed out the lights.
Nobody pointed out the lights. Do you see lights like this on the train now?
No.
No, we have these lights 100 years ago. Most people, they didn't have lights like this in their homes. A lot of people still had candles. They didn't have electricity. So if you got on a train like this, you see the lights and say, oh wow, this train is very fancy. They have new technology.
Then what happens if they don't have seats and you can sit on the floor?
No, we're not going to sit on the floor.
It's very disgusting. It's gonna be like
There's another thing that I want my friends to notice. We have these pictures. What are these pictures called?
Pictures. Pictures are called pictures. Frames. Pictures are called pictures.
It has a special name that begins with an A. Autograph is when you sign something. What do you say? I think you know it. What's it?
Wait, what did you say?
It's called advertisement.
Advertisement.
An advertisement shows you things that you can buy, things that you need for your house. So if you need to buy some milk and you're sitting on the train, the advertisement will remind, oh, I guess I'll buy this brand milk. Or something for your salad.
Come.
The advertisements on the trains now, they look a little bit different.
They're breaking.
When we get onto a newer train, you'll be able to see them. These trains are not going to move because remember, what color were the lights?
Red.
Can you make it green? It goes out.
I can't make it green.
Make it green right now, or else we go to the stop.
Okay, my friends, we are going to visit another train. I want you to stand up very carefully. Make sure you have all of your things with you.
Okay.
Excuse me. You're going to follow that way. I'll meet you.
Like a card.
Pick up your jacket up.
Okay, boys and girls, you should be coming in and sitting quietly. Let's not call out. You need to sit down gently and quietly because we have lots to explore and observe in this train car. We can begin when everybody has got their body still, including your feet, and looking this way. Good job. Boys and girls, we have moved from one of the oldest subway cars in our museum to one of the newest subway cars in our museum. It's not brand new because if a train car is brand new, it needs to be out working in the New York City subway. Do you know train cars are really, really expensive? Each car, not each train, but each car, it costs between $2 and $3 million. So if it can still work, it needs to be out working in the New York City subway because there are more people riding our subway than ever. So we need to have all our trains out working, helping New Yorkers to get around. We can say things if we raise quiet hands. This is a subway train that moves people around New York City. That last train car was 100 years old, whereas this train car is a young 48 years old. 48! Now, I am sure that you are all noticing lots of improvements, innovations. Can we say that word together? Innovations. because that's the theme of our tour today. Noticing all the improvements in our transportation system over time. This train car, this 48-year-old train car, is a real contrast to that 100-year-old train car. Let's say that word, contrast.
Contrast.
That means it's really, really different. And I bet you are noticing a lot of the differences. If you would like to share with the whole class a difference or an improvement and innovation you have noticed, you can raise a quiet hand. And I'm going to call on people with quiet hands. And the rest of the class, this is an opportunity to learn from each other. So I want to see what a great job you can do of listening to your classmates when I call on them. Okay, in a big loud voice. Yes.
I noticed that it's different because they don't have the hooks.
Great observation. Notice, boys and girls, this train car has horizontal poles and it has vertical poles. Boys and girls, these are vertical, up and down. Who can remember how many vertical poles were there on that 100-year-old train car? One. Everyone hold up one finger. One. Let's count the vertical poles on this train car. We're going to start down the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've gone from 1 to 6. That is an improvement and innovation. Because if we're trying to get around New York City, not everybody can get a seat. Our subway is really busy and crowded these days. So we need to give people the chance to stand and hold on to a pole. So this really helps us transport more people. Boys and girls, you have to think back to that 100-year-old train car. Does anyone remember what was the colour of that pole, in that one vertical pole, in that 100-year-old train car? Raise your hand if you can remember the colour. Yes. Was it grey? Yes.
Black and
What was the colour of the pole? Yes.
black and white.
Yeah, the pole itself was white, wasn't it? The train was painted a dark green, black colour, but the pole was white. Because that train car, boys and girls, was made of a heavy steel. And that heavy steel would rust. You know when something goes rust, a metal thing that's left in the rain? It goes all brown and rusty. So we had to paint that pole with porcelain paint to stop it from rusting. But the great thing about this train car, both on the outside and the poles on the inside, is they are shiny silver stainless steel. Let's say that together. Stainless steel. Stainless steel is a great product for the subway company to use because we don't have to paint it. It saves us money that we can use stainless steel that doesn't rust, that doesn't have to be painted. But I bet you are noticing lots more innovations in this train. Yes.
I know my dad car, doesn't have the
Okay, good observation. Let's all point here at this letter. This train car is an A train. In New York City, this is a really important innovation that was introduced. It happened over time that we got the system we have today. Long ago, and you know from when we introduced this museum, some trains used to have 2 letters. Does anyone remember the letter of the train that used to come in and out of this Court Street subway station? Well done, the HH. I'll get to you in a second. Long ago, local trains used to have 2 letters. A local train is one that makes a stop at every station. Local trains had 2 letters, but we simplified it. We got rid of the 2 letters, and we also introduced colours. So these are the letters and numbers of the New York City subway today. In New York City, we have letter trains and number trains, but they all come together to form one subway system. And these letters and numbers are an innovation because they help us get around. A lot of people come to New York City, they're tourists, they're visitors, they haven't been here before. We need to be able to make it easy to work out which train to take and to read our subway map. So that's why our letters and numbers also have a colour. So what colour is the A train? What colour is the 1 train? And what colour is the 7 train that goes to Queen? That really helps us to get around. Those trains on the map, on the New York City subway map, there's one on the wall there, they are shown in those colours. So here is the 1 train line. Stay seated just so everybody can see. It's red on the map. So that helps us get around the city. But you know what? This train, I'll get to it, okay, just because this is on the same topic. Remember on the last train, Ramona talked about the conductor making the announcements? Trains in New York City today, letter trains are 8 cars long. Number trains are 10 cars long. How many people do you think we need working on the trains today?
10.
Well, let's think about what jobs are there working on our subway trains in New York City? Yes.
They used to fix the track.
That's true. There are support staff that help fix the tracks so the trains can move. But on an actual 8-car train, how many workers are we going to have today? Yes. What's the number 1 important job to get the train to move? The driver. Okay, so boys and girls, where does the driver sit on the train? Yes? Behind there?
Over there.
Oh, okay, so they'd be in, but if on an 8-car train, they're going to be at the very front, so they can see where they're going, don't they? Well, who's the other person that's going to help the driver, that's going to work on the train? Yes. The speaker person. That's good because it brings our attention to the speaker. Look here, here's the other worker. It's the conductor. And because of a number of innovations, we only need 1 conductor on an 8-car train. I want everyone to point up here. Notice this train car has speakers.
I was going to say that.
So boys and girls, no matter where you're sitting on this 8-car train, you can hear the conductor's voice making the announcement about the next stop. Now, does the conductor in this train come around and pull all the doors shut? No. It's technology. There's innovation to help with that, isn't it? Who can tell me where on an 8-car train is the conductor? Remember, that's the driver in the front, it's the middle. Well done. From the middle of the train, the conductor can speak to everyone on the train through the speakers, and they can press a button to open and close the doors for the whole train.
Also, I thought they are automatic.
Well, they are automatic, but it's triggered by the conductor pressing the button. In actual fact, they press it twice. First press closes the doors at the back. Second press closes the doors at the front. It looks like they're all closing together, but there's actually 2 steps. One half of the train and then the other half of the train.
The medium.
So that's an innovation. Yes.
How do they see you?
Well, the conductor, see this conductor looking out the window? And they actually have to look down there and look there to make sure the doors are not closing on people. But you know what? Lots of people, they run into the trains at the last minute. And you know what happens when they do that? The doors have to open again. The whole train's doors. And then our trains in New York City start to run late. That's why they don't want people to run in at the last minute. Because if somebody does that, gets stuck in the door or their bag in the door, all the doors have to open again. What happened? Your mum did it? Oh no.
My sister did it.
Okay, well you've been to the Transit Museum, so when you go home you can tell them, don't do that because our trains will start running late. So, just quickly before we leave this train, I want you to notice a few other innovations. Remember that free haircut Ramona talked about on the last train?
Yeah.
Can anyone see fans like this in this train car?
No.
Can anyone notice an innovation that's even better than having fans, that really in the summer brings in nice cool air? Yes?
Air conditioner?
Air conditioners. Can anyone see the air conditioners? Where are they, boys and girls?
Right there on the line.
That's right, 2 lines on each side. These are the air conditioners that bring in nice cool air in the summer. But what happens during the winter?
What happens in the winter? I think they close up the air conditioner and they make it a little warmer so everybody will.
They sure do, but how do they do that? Where are the heaters in this train car? Can anyone point to the heaters? They're not up there, they're down here. Boys and girls, did you know hot air rises? So that's why the heaters are below the seats and cold air sinks. So that's why the cold air is coming from the top and the hot air is coming from the bottom.
Oh, to make it work.
That's right.
What are those
Boys and girls, we have got lots more to show you. We're on a journey to the past today, and we're hoping we're going to even get to meet a visitor from the past. We want to go back in time, even further now, back before New York City had subway trains. Because you know, New York City's had a subway for 113 years.
What?
But the subway trains were not the first trains in New York City. The first trains in New York City, everyone hands up, they operated high above the city streets and they weren't powered by electricity like our subway trains today. These trains were powered by steam engines. What do we burn to make a steam engine operate? There's fire, but what are we burning in the fire? Coal, that's right, a black rock called coal. We set on fire and we use that fire to heat water to make steam. That's all be the steam rising off the water, and that steam makes the engine move. We're going to go now back down the very end of the museum to look at a model of the city streets of New York City before we had the subway. And after that, we might even get to visit a train car that was an elevated train car that would have been powered by a steam engine. And if we're really lucky and really quiet, we may even get to meet a visitor when we go into that train car. So everyone's standing up. Oh, we didn't talk about the seats, you're absolutely right. But I bet you've noticed these lovely, hard, smooth seats that are so easy.
Come on, Andrea.
They're steep, but I don't have nothing to do.
It's okay. one step back. No, take 3 steps back.
1,
So then
2,
everybody else
3. Oh!
don't go against the gate. The further you go, you kind of can let everybody see. Let's make like a U shape.
1, 2, 3.
Come here, U shape. There we go.
we had the subway. We had elevated trains. These trains were high above the ground, 3 stories up. These trains, if you were riding in them, you could probably see inside of people's homes. If you pass by, you can see the tops of trees, the tops of everyone. On the street, do you see any cars? What do you see in this place of cars? Yes. You see horses and carriages and buggies.
Don't bang the glass. I can hear it banging and it's gonna break. There's only 2 big houses.
So before we had the subway, we just had elevated trains and we had horses and carriages.
Look at the people working. Look at the guy without a shirt. Yeah.
And we used those to get around.
It does not look like Jeremy. It looks like Jeremy.
So before we get onto an elevated train, I want everyone to imagine. Imagine you're living back in this time where horses were in the streets.
I'm right
There
there.
were no
I'm right there.
cars,
The red
no
car. I'm the
subways,
naked guy.
only elevated trains.
Because I'm on the rock. I'm going on an elevator train and I'm watching this.
And before we get on our elevated train,
I'm going here.
I want everyone to imagine that you're getting dressed. I want you all to put on your fancy jackets.
Let's put on our fancy jackets. We're probably gonna go to work or something. Or
Yes?
something. No, there's no parking
It's
there.
very cold and very windy, so let's put on our fancy hats.
Let's put on our fancy hats.
Okay.
And we'll put our gloves on.
Gloves on.
And this train station is 3 stories up, so we have to walk up steps. Let's walk up the
Let's walk up
stairs.
those steps.
Okay. Now we're at the top. It's very windy. I want everyone to hold on to their hats. And we are going to look for our train and see if we find someone from the past. Hold on to your hats. It's windy.
Hold on to your hats. It's very windy outside. Let's follow Ramona. Let's find. Boys and girls, pay attention. This is very important information.
We're seeing a villager.
Oh my goodness, you startled me. I wasn't expecting to see anyone up here. Hello. Yes, I dropped something on the tracks. I was just...
Oh, I'll get the conductor for
no,
you.
please don't get the conductor. No, everything's fine. Yes, I'm sorry. Are you all trying to come on the train here? Oh, wait, excuse me. Please come on.
Okay, take a safe step up. A safe step up. A safe step up. Watch your step. You have to step up. She's very embarrassing too. That's so funny. If they try to ask her about like modern stuff, she's like, well, she's like, what's a TV? And they show her phone. She's like, is that a blip? What is that? Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everyone. All right, come on in now. Don't be shy.
How old are you?
Oh my goodness, it's not nice to ask a lady. Come on in now. Grown-ups, do please step on in. Inside the guys. And we see what this is. Grown-ups, you get a large bag you got there. Yes, certainly.
Now stay in your seats,
Oh, I think I have to go in the back.
All right, well, welcome, everyone. I must say, goodness, if we're all going to be riding together, I might as well introduce myself to you. My name is Mrs. Mary Walton. It's lovely to meet you all. And I must say, you've all certainly chosen to ride in style today, taking this elevated railroad train. My goodness, they truly are remarkable, don't you think? The fact that we can now travel such long distances like never before, all throughout the town, so very high above the ground, above everyone's heads and the treetops there, yes. And, oh, these nice rattan seats are all sitting on. Quite comfortable, don't you think? Yes. Yes, and these lovely handholds. I suppose they've been in better condition. Yes, and that very quick steam and pull them all around the town. Oh, my goodness. Oh, heavens. I'm not doing a very good job convincing you, am I? Wait. All right, well, listen, everyone. If I might be completely honest with you all, lately, these trains have been giving me nothing but headaches. Oh, you see, I live over on 12th Street, right next to this elevated railroad line. You think it'd be wonderful to live so close to something that could take me so many places, like I mentioned. But my goodness, the noise it produces. Oh, I'm sure you've all heard it as well. You know, all that rattling all the time, and that clanging, and oh my goodness, that screeching as it pulls into the station. Oh, it's simply dreadful, I must say. Tell me, would you all like to live near something that makes such terrible noises like that? No, I should think not. My goodness, but day and night, that's all I hear right outside my window there. And, you know, the doctors, they say all that noise is not good for you. No. And it startles the horses on the streets. It causes so many accidents. Oh, it's terrible. But, you know, the other evening, I decided to myself I had quite about enough of all of that noise. And I wanted to do something about it. So, all right, well, can you all keep a secret?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, the other evening, I snuck up here to the railroad myself, and I began to experiment. That's right, for 3 days now, I've been listening to all the sounds up here on the trains, and I've been looking at the way everything moves together and what it's all made out there on the tracks. And you know, I think I might have actually just figured out what is causing all that noise. But, you know, I haven't yet told anyone of what I've discovered, so you promise you won't tell anyone then if I share it? Yes? All right, well, listen, after all of this, everyone, I'm certain I believe a great part of that noise is caused by the sounds of the wheels rolling over the tracks, as you might imagine. But I think it's also being made much, much louder by the support boxes that they sit inside. Now, let me show you what I mean by that, everyone. Tell me, do you hear the sound of this bell? Yeah. Yes, all right. So this bell on its own, it's not really that loud, right? But I want you to listen again as I put it inside of this empty jar here. Now how does it sound?
Louder.
It's louder, that's right. So you see what's happening here is that all of the noise from that bell, it's bouncing around inside of this empty jar here. And yes, it's being made louder. It's being amplified, you see? I think that's actually what's happening down on the tracks too, Evan. Let me show you why I think that. So this right here, everyone, is a diagram that I've drawn, all right, a picture of what the tracks look like. Now, you can see right here in the center, there's a piece of the track iron, all right? It's kind of a side view here. On top of it, there's the wheel rolling over it. And all around it on the sides here are these wooden support boxes that I mentioned. Now, those support boxes are there to help to stabilize the tracks so that they don't move everywhere. They'd be very dangerous, of course. And they're also the things that help to raise us very high above the ground, too. But I noticed something else very interesting here, and I wonder if you've noticed the same thing. Now, do you all see, right inside here, in this area, do you see anything in that space? No, it's empty, right? And also the shape of that empty space right in here. I thought, you know, it looks very similar to that jar that I just showed you, don't you think? So I put all this together in my head. I thought, well, we've got the wheel making a lot of noise, right? And all that noise is bouncing around inside of that empty jar-shaped area. And what do you think is happening to all of that noise? Yes?
I think it's just like going outside and going through the window, then making people's ears hurt.
Yes, my goodness, it's being made much louder. And yes, everyone in the neighborhood is, oh my goodness, nobody can sleep. It's terrible. But I was so excited when I discovered that, yes, this, I think, everyone, is actually where all of that extra noise is coming from. So excited, I wanted to do something about it. trying to solve that problem. So I started to think of ways that I've been able to quiet sound in my everyday life. And, well, let me ask you all this. Have you all ever tried to fall asleep when there's something very noisy going on outside?
Yeah.
Yes, perhaps you live next to a train line as well. Oh, my goodness. Now, when you're trying to sleep, what might you do to help get rid of all of that noise? What do you think? Yes?
Putting a pillow on your head.
Yes, you can put the pillows over your ears. I do the very same thing. Yes?
Cover your ears.
Yes, with some pillows or your hands or something.
You can get a sweater and stick it in your ear.
A sweater in your ears, I suppose. Yes, that would do just as well. Headphones? What do you mean by that? All right, yes.
Headphones are technology that we use nowadays and to help us to like if we want to listen to music and everybody's sitting down watching TV and they don't want to hear your noise, you can put this headphones on and connect it to your tablet or phone so you can listen to the music. You can listen to the music without anybody hearing it.
I see. Well, that's very polite of you, I suppose. So it's your own personal record player, I suppose, and only you can hear it. How very interesting. Well, these are wonderful ideas, everyone. And yes, I must say those pillows work rather well for me. I find they do a great job if, someone's snoring or a baby is crying. So everyone, thinking of those pillows, I decided to myself, all right, if there's a way I could somehow, pat around the tracks then with some pillows or something similar, maybe I might also be able to quiet some of those noises too. I could absorb them kind of like a sponge or soaks up water. Have you all seen that before? Yes, well, goodness. But everyone, I've been collecting a number of different materials now to act like these pillows. All sorts of things like newspaper, horsehair, feathers, all kinds of little things. And I've been using some bells to see how well these materials can absorb all of that noise. Well, in a moment, let me explain to you here. Let me show you an example. So here is some sand, everyone. Now, I've actually found sand works quite well here. And let me show you how I've done this. Now, I'll take a bell, just like I showed you before, all right? I put the bell inside of the jar, just like that. I put the lid back on so it doesn't spill everywhere. And then I shake to see how well I can hear a bell ringing inside of the jar. So tell me, does anyone hear a bell ringing?
No.
So I think we could say that sand might be a very good noise absorber, don't you think? But I have all of these other materials I still have to test out. And to be perfectly honest with you, all those conductors haven't been very fond of me doing these little experiments up here, as you can imagine. So I've got to work quickly, if you don't mind. Well, tell me, everyone, tell me, would you all like to help me out with an experiment today?
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. That would save me loads of time, too. All right, so here's what we'll do then. In a moment, I'll pass out some of these materials to you all that I still have to test out. And the bells are already inside for you. So all you have to do is just shake your jars and compare them. And I'd love for you to tell me which is the quieter jar, all right? That means it's doing a good job absorbing all of that noise. But first, could we all get into some small groups for me? Maybe groups of about 4 or 5 would be lovely.
All right, let's
Feel
do
free to
4
spread
right
out
here
if
first.
you'd like.
And you 4 over here. Right here, come on, start. 1,
Why are you squished?
2, 3, 4. You 4. No, you 1, 2.
Alright. You can see your dad if you're over there.
You have to be hungry.
He's behind you.
1, 2.
Look, Noah.
Shake your jars.
You want to see me dab? Everybody knows how to dab. That's Dan, TDM. That's like
Be sure to share these, please.
Shake it.
All right. Oh, where did you get this from?
Oh, we don't.
That might have been from another
Shake. In your group, you need one of the side. So you've got to shake it one at a time and decide which is the quieter one. Obviously that one and this one. It's teamwork. Here.
That's a good idea to put that. But I don't know.
Here, you have have to figure out which one is the loudest and which one is the quietest.
Pretty much is the loudest.
Which one, this one or this one? Shoes. Which one do you think is higher? Look, I'm asking you guys a question. Which one do you think is
No, which one do you think is quieter?
Which one's louder?
No.
You have to take one at a time.
Yeah, because if you put it like two at a time, it's gonna make it
So
even
shake
louder.
that one first. Can you hear the bell?
Can you hear the bell?
And now try this one.
Which one's louder?
Or this one?
Both.
Okay, you
Which one's louder?
Well, have a seat because she's gonna have to choose like one. She's gonna act one at a time, and then decide.
Why can we not open it?
Don't open it. It's gonna stay.
She's gonna ask you which is the quietest and which is the loudest.
We don't know.
I have mine.
This one is the loudest. With this one.
Okay, do one shake each and we'll vote.
Louder than this.
Excuse me.
So which one is the quietest?
He was pushing. He was fighting me on the. No, he lied. He was pushing.
I got you all on video here. All right, stop. No more. Everybody stop. Sit. Let him sit. Let's be friends.
No, we both like him.
Friends. You okay? Sit down. Feet down.
That was the quietest.
Very quiet. So maybe we could actually get rid of both of these then. What do you think? Yeah? Alright. Sometimes that's what happens, you know? Sometimes things don't work out like that. But it's good for our meeting for quiet. So how do we do over here?
Oh, this one's quiet.
This one's quieter.
That one's louder.
And that one's louder. So we'll get rid of that one. Excellent. Alright, so everyone still have a jar. So let's move on. Now everyone, you've done an excellent job helping me to narrow these down. But I still need to do one more part of this experiment, and that is seeing which of all of these is the most quiet, alright? So what we're going to do here is I'll shake these two at a time, and I need you all to listen very carefully and quietly. And then after I do two, I'll ask you to vote on which of those two is the quieter one, alright? So let's get started. Here we go. Here is the yarn. Okay, and here is the horsehair. So between those two, which do you think was quieter? Who thinks that the first one, the yarn, was quieter? Raise your hand. And who thinks the second one, the horsehair, was quieter? Raise your hand. Alright, so I think I saw a few more hands for the yarn there. So let's go on with the yarn. Here's the yarn one more time. Alright, you all hear that? And now everyone, here is the leather scraps. Alright, so I think I can tell by your moves, but who thinks that the yarn is quieter? And who thinks that the leather was quieter? Yes, I heard many more moves for that. So let's get rid of that. One more time, here's the yarn. I have them shaking everything.
Seven, hold on. We have to really wait and listen first, okay?
Here's the yarn. And here is the ribbon.
Do you know what? It's hard to hear when you're doing the booing. So if we can show Mary Walton our best behaviour and listen carefully.
I need everyone to be very quiet because these are very close here, alright? So here's the yarn. Alright, here's the ribbon. So we think between those two, these are very close too. Who thinks the yarn? And who thinks the ribbon? Oh, many more for the ribbon. Alright, wonderful. And last one, now here's the ribbon. And here's the cotton. So between those two, who thinks the ribbon? And who thinks the cotton? And, oh, well then, my goodness, well heavens. Everyone give yourselves a round of applause. Experiment together. And discovered, oh, look, yes, that cotton seems to be a very good sound absorber. My goodness. Well, everyone, you've given me so much to think showed you earlier. Goodness, I wonder maybe there's a way I can somehow even combine the two. I don't know. I've got to get you experimenting a bit more on that. But everyone, thank you again. I really think we're onto something here. And I must say, everyone in the neighborhood will be so pleased to finally get a good night's sleep if this works out. Wonderful. Another round of applause. Thank you so much for your help. You're running before they pick up your rides up here again. But thank you all. Have a wonderful trip back to where your head.
Oh, you're dropping
Oh my goodness, sir, you're so clever. You know, I hadn't actually dropped anything. It's part of my experience. But you found me out. You're very clever. My goodness, thank you again, everyone. Have a
Stay
wonderful
seated,
day.
207. Stay seated for a second. Stay seated for a second.
Boys and girls, everyone should be seated with your bodies still looking this way. Eyes on me, everyone.
You have it?
Waiting for a couple of people.
Have a seat.
Boys and girls, Mary Walton was a real person who lived in New York City long ago. She was a scientist, an inventor, an innovator, somebody that tried to solve a problem. She lived near the noisy, elevated trains, and she tried to find a solution, and she successfully did find a solution to make those train wheels much quieter. Throughout our journey to the past today here at the Transit Museum, we've been looking at lots of innovations and improvements that have made our transportation system better over time. You guys did a great job when we moved from an old train to a new train, looking at all the changes and how things had improved. We also noticed up in our turnstile exhibit lots of innovations and improvements too. Changes in what things were made of and how they operated. It's scientists and innovators that have made our transportation system better. And today New York City has a really large subway system that operates 24 hours, 7 days a week, and enables us to get around. I want to say thank you all for coming to the Transit Museum today. Ramona and I really enjoyed showing you around. I hope you have a good trip back to school and happy holidays.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you, 207.
Thank you. I had a great time.
Alright, have a happy holidays, happy New Year.
We're getting
Merry
Alright,
Christmas.
207, all freeze. Did you hear me, please? Hands and ears. Hands and ears. Before we need to go anywhere, you need to have your jacket on and make sure you don't leave anything behind. So make sure you need and grab everything.